Since being brought back in 2005, Doctor Who has had a plethora of Christmas specials. Out of the 15 Christmas specials that Doctor Who have produced, I only think that one is particularly bad. Now, I want you, the viewer, a Doctor Who fan maybe, to guess what Christmas special you might possibly think I think is the worst Christmas special and overall a bad episode. I'll play a little Doctor Who Christmassy clip while you comment down below.
You did this.
No! No! Don't!
Absolutely incredible scene. So I'm assuming by now everyone's commented, so yeah, you've guessed it is in fact the Voyage of the Damned. Well, no, of course it's not. It's Doctor Mysterio. The Return of Doctor Mysterio is the worst Christmas special Doctor Who has ever produced, if not one of the worst episodes Doctor Who has made in general. But I want to get the one plus of this episode out of the way. Its final scene with the 12th Doctor, played by Peter Capaldi, with River's song is absolutely incredible. It shows the emotion that he's feeling over the loss of River's song, and it's one of the most beautiful scenes in the show. In contrast to the rest of the episode, it's actually kind of funny, but it's an incredible scene. I love it.
That's all. Everything ends. And it's always sad. But everything begins again too. And that's always happy. Be happy.
This speech from Peter Capaldi as the 12th Doctor is absolutely incredible and heartwarming. It's probably one of his best speeches in the show. It really conveys the emotion the 12th Doctor is feeling over the loss of River's song. And as well, not only this, but when Nardo also gives a little speech as well before he leaves, we also see the emotion physically that the 12th Doctor is feeling, with his top button undone and him leaning on the TARDIS console. It's an incredible scene and the only redeeming scene of this episode, and if you want to watch this episode, genuinely just watch it for this scene. But what's bad about this episode? Where do we begin? The superhero, I think is the most ridiculous thing Doctor's ever done, but not in a good one. Doctor Who can do cringe stuff, corny stuff. I think that's what makes the show so great, is those moments, right? He can do these wacky things and make it really good and entertaining. This isn't one of those moments. It really just doesn't deliver on this whole superhero concept. I think the writing's very clunky around the superhero, and every time, you know, Ghost or whatever his name is speaks, it's so bad.
To 4 nuclear explosions.
Sorry about that. Would you like me to call a glacier?
Like, I don't know, maybe I'm just a generational hater, but I actively cringe at this scene and the majority of scenes in this episode where Ghost appears. The character is bad, the music behind it really doesn't help, and the acting, it leaves a lot to be desired. Honestly, it baffles me how the show can mess up a superhero, but can nail down a really emotional scene with flying bloody fish. I think there's a few key differences between A Christmas Carol with a flying fish and The Return of Doctor Mysterio with the bloody superhero. In A Christmas Carol, there's lots of other stuff going on besides the flying fish. The flying fish just complements all this emotional stuff going on and just really works in the episode, right? There's lots of other stuff going on. In The Return of Doctor Mysterio, there isn't much going on other side than the superhero stuff. Could you imagine if A Christmas Carol didn't have any of the emotional beats, any of that stuff, and was just about the Doctor and a flying fish and about it causing some destruction and maybe another villain? Like, it would be kind of bland. I think Doctor Mysterio also suffers from this cartoony depiction of a superhero, right? It's a kid who's grown up, he loved comic books, he's now got superhero powers, right? He's basing it off the comic books. So it makes sense in that context, but it just doesn't work for the episode. Good in plan, but not good in execution. Because of this, it's like a really bad parody of Superman, and it just doesn't work because it's overly cringe. The episode does kind of touch on the Doctor's grief over losing River's song, and that's something I wish the episode touched on a lot more, pushed to the forefront. I think those are the strongest elements of this episode. Like I said, the speech from Peter Capaldi's Doctor at the end is absolutely incredible. I don't know why the episode couldn't have featured more around that and his grief, rather than this weird superhero subplot. I would have much rather just had the whole episode be about his grief, and not necessarily in the subtle way that we were delivered it in this episode. I would have much rather have seen a full episode about this fully, rather than this superhero plot sort of shoved in the middle of it. There's just no compelling characters in this episode whatsoever aside from Nardo and the Doctor, which isn't a good thing. I really do like Harmony Show, and I'm sad they didn't do, you know, a part 3 to the trilogy, but the main characters that we're meant to care about in this episode, I just don't. I think this is just a result of them trying to do this Superman, superhero parody type thing, which just really doesn't play off well in the episode, so it kind of makes you resent the characters, which is a shame because Doctor Who Christmas specials, the thing that they're usually very good at, is these very emotional moments. Take this scene, for example, with Amy and the Doctor on Christmas Day. It's really heartfelt, it's incredible, it's touching, and this exchange is beautiful.
Not absolutely sure. How long?
2 years?
Okay. Fair point.
So, you're not dead?
And a Happy New Year!
River told us.
You really can feel the emotion, and this might be a bad example because these are characters we know, the Doctor and Amy, so let me do another one. In A Christmas Carol, for example, Michael Gambon's character's love for the other characters is really heartfelt. We can see that it's the end of this beautiful love which is built up through the episode, and it's very, very touching. These are characters we're only introduced to in this episode, and you know, you feel sad, you feel some type of emotion, where in Doctor Mysterio you just don't care what happens to these characters.
It's in the crystals. It's feeding back and forth between the two halves of the screwdriver now. One song filling the sky. The crystals will align and I'll feed in a controlled phase loop and the clouds will unlock.
What does that mean, unlock? What happens when a cloud unlocks?
Something that hasn't happened in this town for a very long time now.
Nobody can convince me this episode isn't a masterpiece. It is just incredible. I do feel like I'm kind of on my own in terms of my thoughts with The Return of Doctor Mysterio. From what I can see online, the reviews are positive, with a lot of people claiming it's the best Moffat Christmas episode, which I hard disagree with. It just seems like a lot of people just don't talk about this episode, and even some people call it underrated. Look, everybody's allowed their opinions, but anybody who says it's good are wrong. Like, honestly, this is an episode of the show I've never personally liked. I remember watching it when it came out on Christmas, and I really didn't like it. I didn't like the vibe, I didn't like what it was going for, I never liked it then, and I didn't like it when rewatching it for this video. It leaves a sour taste in my mouth by the end, and the only thing that kind of saves it is Peter Capaldi. Just a great Doctor. The Return of Doctor Mysterio just edges out the Church on Ruby Road. For me, the Church on Ruby Road has its moments, a lot more moments than The Return of Doctor Mysterio. I think it's a lot more Christmassy, a lot more festive, a lot more heartfelt, and things that I think The Return of Doctor Mysterio is just lacking. I would play a clip of this episode, but it seems like anything from the 60th anniversary in Series 1 just absolutely gets demolished by copyright. But please, everybody, let me know your thoughts on The Return of Doctor Mysterio. What do you think of it? Is it a bad episode? Is it a good episode? Do you like it? And what's your favourite Doctor Who Christmas special? Please, let me know. But I've been your host, Samuel. Everybody have a Merry Christmas, and I will catch you in the next Doctor Who related video.